All right, well, welcome to our virtual office that we have here. I'm Dr. Attia, and I'm going to take you through a journey regarding the gut brain connection, and its association with senile dementia, depression, diabetes. I mean, these things, these kind of conditions are huge, and we're going to have a series of emails here that you're going to receive talking about these different conditions and why it's important to have this gut brain connection. And what you can do about it too, because a lot of people are just really not educated on what's going on there, and this is really important information. So we're calling this the microbes in your brain, okay, or bugs in your brain. All right, there's your brain is primarily made 70-80% of fats. You got to have fats. Now, for years they told us to stay away from fats. They did a great job of that, of telling us to stay away from fats. And it produced a society full of diabetes, senile dementia, and cancer. Okay, so eat fats. Be careful of the carbohydrates, just the opposite, okay? Our brain is an incredible piece of machinery. If you really knew, I mean, I'm a chiropractic neurologist. I'm in the process of sitting a board exam, and the things that your brain is responsible for is absolutely incredible. And the more that I learn about it, frankly, the more I realize that there's no way we could have come from a little protozoa. But some of the things that it does, it weighs 3 pounds. That's all it weighs. And it's temperature regulation, hunger, sex drive, hormone balance, sensory and motor processing. I mean, I could go on and on and on. It's just a beautiful piece of machinery. Here's what's really important to grasp in this, and this is the point I want to get across. It is not alone. All right? Here's some interesting facts. We are comprised of 10 times more microbes in our body than our own personal cells. That's pretty amazing. I'm going to refer to them as bugs because really what they're made up of are various protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. But this is a symbiotic relationship. We help each other in this case. It is called it is the second brain essentially, and it is called the microbiome. All right. There are over 100 trillion of these little protozoa and so on running around in our intestine with over 10,000 species. Personally, I find that amazing. I just think that's really pretty cool that they're there. Now, this is really important. I think this fascinated me when I was researching all this. They contribute 150 times more genes than our own in the expression of our life. Okay, so I have these eyebrows, thinning hair, okay, dark skinned, and so on and so forth. That's an expression of a gene that is deep within inside the cell. They contribute 150 times more genes to our expression than we do personally. I think that's an important reason to take care of it. Okay, of this microbiome. The weight is two to three times more than our own brains. Okay. Now, here's a couple of things that I'm going to throw some studies at you, and so that you grasp how important this is. In the studies with mice that were raised bug-free or free of any type of bacteria inside their gut, here are some of the examples that were demonstrated. Now, somebody's going to say, how do you measure this in a mouse? I don't really know. Okay, I don't have that. It didn't show that on the study. But they showed examples of anxiety, learning disabilities, and appetite. All these things changed because the microbiome wasn't inside the intestinal tract of the mice. All right. Now, first off, regarding immunity, and these things started to come to fruition back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. A gentleman named Eli, and I have difficulty pronouncing his name, Metchnikoff. Okay, he got interested in the different organisms throughout in the garden. He saw in his parents' garden as a kid. He saw that there was a relationship between what some of the bugs did in the garden and the growing of the fruits and vegetables in the garden. Now, from there, he got an interest in this. Okay, And he won the Nobel Prize in 1908 for this, as a matter of fact, in immunology. He saw that there was a city in France that the people lived 25, 30 years longer than people did in other parts of the world. And he was amazed. He was absolutely amazed by that. So, being a scientist and curious type person, he decided that he'd go to this city in France and see what they were doing. And when he got there, what he found was this. They were drinking, probably it was a kefir. It's not described in the literature, but it was probably a kefir type thing made from goat's milk. Okay? So it was a fermented type product that had different microbes in it, and that would replenish their gut microbes. Okay? Now, he was so sold on this. This is pretty amazing. Okay? He was so sold on this, the belief that we shouldn't have various diseases, and these microbes, all right, belong in our gut to help fend off different diseases. And he continued taking this kefir type product that they were giving him, and that he injected himself with cholera. Cholera can be a deadly disease, okay? And he did not get the cholera, okay? Just to make sure, he did it again. And he also gave that strain of cholera injected into a friend of his. The friend of his darn near died, but Eli Michnikov, okay, did not. Describing then a situation where the microbiome inside his gut was part of the immune system, and we need to have it. Okay, so how do we measure, or how do we see other ways that this microbiome affects our brain? Real important information. One way we're going to talk about is through the vagus nerve. Okay? In, again, mice, all right, that were free, and I'm not saying you can always extrapolate this data and do it to a human. However, there are some studies that demonstrate that, and they're starting to come out now. Our next video is going to talk about that when it comes to senile dementia. Okay? In a study of depression, all right, they gave Lactobacillus rhamnosus. So here's totally bug-free mice, okay, totally bug-free. They injected Lactobacillus rhamnosus into these, into the mice, into the gut. They cultivated the flora within the gut. These mice showed a decrease in depression by 60% based on what the other population or the control population had. Again, how did they measure depression? In this particular case, it had to do with interaction, coming out of a corner, staying hidden. I mean, they saw that. They called it depression. Alrighty? Another way, in the activation of the immune system, it is common knowledge that about 70% of our immune system is located in our gut. And that makes a heck of a lot of sense, because most of what we take in, obviously, is orally, food that we eat. Okay? And it's important to have that immune system in our gut. What scientists did again, bacteria-free animal, they introduced a different one, Bacteroides fragilis. Okay? And with this this group, they displayed an 80% better resistance to diseases that were introduced into the mice population. 80% increase in resistance. That's substantial, just from a bug. Okay, I just find that amazing. Okay, one more area, another area of the gut that displays connection with the brain is through the endocrine system. This endocrine system is absolutely amazing, and I've been studying the hypothalamus a lot as part of the neurology portion. The hypothalamus is only about the size of your little fingernail, and it makes and produces hormones that are critical to our health, like vasopressin, antidiuretic hormone, prolactin. There's, just a number of things that are needed for pregnancy, for puberty, just a whole ton of different things. We've got to have this. Okay, so how does this affect the endocrine system? It also produces various neuropeptides and neurotransmitters for the purpose of various portions of the body to communicate with them effectively. One in particular that is produced in the gut is called serotonin. Serotonin is our happy hormone, if you will, antidepressant, if you will. So if you've got a poor gut and you have depression, work on the gut. That's a good place to start. I'm sure there could be other psychological factors involved, and I'm not talking about those. But a good place to start would be right there in the gut. Alrighty. Also, another area that is really important in the gut is, again, what they did is they treated these mice that were bacteria free, again with bacteroids, okay, fragilis, all right, and these mice displayed a decrease in autism-like symptoms. Now they measured autism-like symptoms in the mice, their ability to communicate effectively with the other mice in the area and to communicate with the handlers. They didn't want to communicate with them, okay, which is a part of what autism is all about, sensory processing issues. They just weren't able to do that, okay. Again, I'm going to say, I understand this was done. These what I'm showing you here were done in mice. Next 3 videos, I'm going to give you information that was done in humans. So this is a background for you to understand the importance of what you've got here. So I've shown you a few areas of what this microbiome does. Now let's pose a question. What do you think happens? What do you think happens to all this if you take antibiotics? What do antibiotics do? They kill bacteria. They kill the bugs. Okay? And if you kill all the bugs, you're going to lose this gut-brain connection or decrease. As a matter of fact, there is a condition called PANDAS, and we've treated a young man with PANDAS, pediatric autoimmune neuropsychological disorder after streptococcal infection. He was so put on so many antibiotics to kill the strep, he went into a condition of obsessive compulsive disorder, autism-like symptoms, very reserved. Still a very smart kid, okay, but he couldn't communicate effectively. Had no desire to work. Now we were able to help him quite a bit, okay, and still, since it's wired in there, from time to time, if he's not careful on what he eats, he still has some trouble from time to time. But he's, 98% improved. And his mother's a nurse too, which was really good because it's outside of the box traditional medicine. They wanted to give him antipsychotic drugs and things. She said, "No, you're not giving that to my baby." Okay. So another thing here that I want to mention to you is really, why is this important? Primarily, it's really not only just about you. All right. If you have trouble like this and you've got constant, say, irritable bowel, or you've got a psychotic type brain where you've got depression, anorexia, and these different things like this from the gut-brain connection, you're teaching your kids and your grandkids. You're showing them. That's the example that you're showing them. Okay. In our society, it's so simple just to take a drug. Okay. But there are better ways. I'm not telling you it's a cure-all for everything. I'm not telling you that. But what I'm going to say is that a lot of these conditions can be treated effectively and nipped in the bud and taken care, even in advanced conditions. So next video is going to be on senile dementia. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.